In a whirlwind of political maneuvering, President Donald Trump finds himself at the center of two significant narratives: the ongoing debate over federal spending authority and his high-profile appearances at major sporting events such as the Daytona 500. These developments not only reflect the current state of American politics but also hint at the administration's broader strategic objectives. The long-standing question of whether a sitting president can unilaterally disregard Congress's spending laws is resurfacing. This debate, often referred to as impoundment, revolves around the president's ability to withhold funds appropriated by Congress. As lawmakers increasingly scrutinize Trump's administration, tensions are mounting over the implications of such actions. Legal experts note that while the president does have considerable discretion in budgetary matters, outright defiance of congressional mandates could lead to significant constitutional challenges. The power of the purse is one of Congress's most critical responsibilities, remarked constitutional scholar Lisa McElroy. If the president chooses to ignore this, it sets a dangerous precedent. Meanwhile, Trump continues to leverage his celebrity status to galvanize support among the American public. His recent appearance at the Daytona 500 following a visit to the Super Bowl just days prior showcased his affinity for sports as a platform for political engagement. Arriving at Daytona International Speedway to enthusiastic cheers, Trump took a lap around the iconic track and engaged with NASCAR legends like Richard Petty before leading the drivers for pace laps. These public displays serve as a reminder of Trump's enduring popularity among certain voter segments, particularly in regions where motorsports are a cultural cornerstone. This dual focus on both governance and public relations is not without its complications. Trump's administration has faced mounting legal challenges and skepticism over its commitment to traditional governance structures. The Department of Government Efficiency, led by tech mogul Elon Musk, has sparked controversy by making sweeping changes to federal agencies, including significant layoffs within the Federal Aviation Administration. Critics argue that such drastic measures could undermine critical government functions. As Musk himself has questioned the validity of U.S. gold reserves at Fort Knox, his foray into government efficiency raises eyebrows about the administration's priorities. In the realm of international politics, the U.S. stance on the Russia-Ukraine conflict continues to evolve, particularly as European leaders push for a more significant role in peace negotiations. Recent emergency talks in Paris revealed a rift between European nations and the U.S. regarding the future of Ukraine. Prime Minister Keir Starmer of the UK emphasized the necessity of a transatlantic alliance, stating a US security guarantee is the only way to effectively deter Russia from attacking Ukraine again. However, US officials, including Trump's special envoy for Ukraine General Keith Kellogg, have expressed a desire to keep negotiations streamlined, suggesting that Europe may not have a seat at the table. The implications of these narratives are profound. As Trump navigates the complexities of governance, his actions in both domestic and international arenas will have lasting effects. The interplay between his celebrity status and political maneuvers will shape public perception and influence upcoming elections. With the potential for increased scrutiny regarding his administration's fiscal decisions and foreign policy direction, the coming months will likely be pivotal in defining the legacy of Trump's presidency. As the nation watches closely, the intersection of sports, politics, and governance continues to unfold, leaving many to ponder what the future holds. In recent days, former President Donald Trump has made headlines for a series of provocative statements and actions reflecting his ongoing influence in American politics amidst a backdrop of legal challenges and military operations abroad. From expressing support for a controversial bill in Idaho to celebrating a successful U.S. airstrike in Syria, Trump's narrative continues to resonate with a significant portion of the electorate, while also drawing sharp criticism from opponents. On February 17, 2025, Trump took to social media to voice his complete and total support for a proposed bill in Idaho, which has sparked debates over its implications on local governance and social policy. Although specific details of the bill remain largely under wraps, Trump's endorsement highlights his ability to sway public opinion and rally support behind state-level initiatives that align with his broader political agenda. Political analysts suggest that his involvement may be a strategic move to reinforce his base as he eyes a potential return to the presidency in 2024. Meanwhile, on February 18, Trump congratulated U.S. Central Command CENTCOM forces following a precision airstrike in Syria that resulted in the death of a senior finance and logistics official from Huraz al-Din, an al-Qaeda affiliate. Congratulations to CENTCOM Commander General Michael Kurilla and the U.S. warfighters who dealt justice to another jihadi threatening America and our allies and partners, Trump stated on Truth Social. The operation underscores the ongoing U.S. military commitment to counter-terrorism efforts in the region, with CENTCOM emphasizing its resolve to disrupt terrorist activities that pose threats to the U.S. and its allies. This airstrike marks at least the fifth operation against Huraz al-Din since Trump took office, reflecting a continuity in military strategy despite the complexities of U.S. involvement in the Middle East. General Kurilla affirmed that U.S. forces would continue to relentlessly pursue terrorists in order to defend our homeland. The significance of this military action extends beyond tactical gains. It also serves as a narrative tool for Trump, allowing him to project strength and decisiveness in foreign policy, a key aspect of his presidential identity. In the realm of domestic politics, Trump has been vocal about his views on executive power, recently invoking a quote attributed to Napoleon Bonaparte: "He who saves his country does not violate any law." This statement, shared amidst a series of legal challenges, has drawn sharp rebukes from critics who interpret it as an endorsement of authoritarianism. Senator Adam Schiff remarked, "Spoken like a true dictator," highlighting the potential implications for the balance of power within the U.S. government. As Trump navigates these multifaceted issues, his rhetoric and actions continue to raise questions about the future of American governance. With a history of controversial policy decisions and an approach that often blurs the lines of legality, his administration is poised to redefine the contours of executive authority if he returns to power. The interplay of military successes abroad and contentious political maneuvers at home illustrates the complexity of Trump's political landscape, setting the stage for an unpredictable electoral cycle ahead. In conclusion, as Trump consolidates his support through both military endorsements and local political maneuvers, the implications for U.S. domestic and foreign policy remain profound. Observers will be watching closely as the 2024 election approaches, anticipating how Trump's blend of populism, militarism, and controversy will shape the national discourse and influence voter sentiment in an increasingly polarized environment. The unfolding narrative suggests that the ramifications of Trump's actions will resonate long after the dust settles on current events, with potential shifts in policy and governance likely to emerge from his ongoing efforts to reclaim the presidency. In a striking display of dissent, nearly 1,000 protesters braved the biting cold on President's Day to voice their opposition to the policies of President Donald Trump and billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk. The protests, organized by the 50501 movement, an initiative that aims to galvanize nationwide activism, took place across various U.S. cities, with significant gatherings reported in Boston and Washington, D.C. Demonstrators chanted slogans such as "No Kings on President's Day" and "Elon Musk has got to go," highlighting their discontent with what they perceive as an erosion of democratic values under the current administration. The Boston rally saw participants marching from the State House to City Hall amidst snow and below freezing temperatures, some donning Revolutionary War-style attire and wielding signs that read, "This is a coup and cowards bow to Trump, patriots stand up." Emily Manning, a Boston engineer, articulated the sentiment of many attendees when she remarked, "I thought it was important to be here on President's Day to demonstrate for what America stands for. American values are not the values of the plutocracy or the limited few rich people." In Washington, similar scenes unfolded near the Capitol, where protesters gathered to express solidarity with federal workers and challenge recent executive actions perceived as anti-democratic. Among the signs displayed was a provocative call to deport Musk, dethrone Trump, reflecting the deep-seated frustrations that have mobilized citizens across political and regional lines. The 50501 movement's spokesperson emphasized that the protests were aimed at combating what they view as anti-democratic and illegal actions by the Trump administration and its affluent allies. The timing of these demonstrations coincided with a series of executive orders from Trump that have drawn considerable ire from various sectors of society, particularly regarding immigration policies and federal workforce reductions. Just days prior, significant layoffs across federal agencies sparked further outrage, contributing to the already charged atmosphere of dissent. In Phoenix, protesters attempted to enter the statehouse to oppose legislation that would align state law enforcement with federal immigration directives, showcasing the growing tensions surrounding these policies. The stark conditions did not deter demonstrators, with many enduring harsh weather to make their voices heard. In fact, the polar vortex sweeping across the country only seemed to amplify the urgency of their message. Protest organizer December Archer emphasized the importance of maintaining civility during the protests, stating, "We're here to make a statement, not be the statement." This commitment to peaceful protest amid escalating tensions underscores a pivotal moment in American political discourse, where citizens are increasingly vocal about their dissatisfaction with governance. As this wave of protests unfolds, the implications for the Trump administration and its policy direction remain uncertain. The outpouring of public sentiment reflects a broader discontent that could shape future political landscapes, particularly as the nation approaches an election cycle fraught with division. The 50501 movement's ability to mobilize large groups across diverse regions signals a potential shift in grassroots activism, emphasizing the power of collective action in challenging perceived injustices. With protests likely to continue and evolve, the coming weeks may reveal whether this surge of activism will translate into tangible political change, or if it will be met with further resistance from an administration that has shown little inclination to alter its course. As protesters chant for accountability and reform, the question remains: will their voices resonate in the halls of power? Or will they be drowned out by the persistent machinery of politics? The answer will likely shape the trajectory of American democracy in the months and years to come. In a bold move that could significantly reshape the economic landscape of the United States, President Donald Trump has proposed sweeping reciprocal tariffs targeting imports from foreign countries. This strategy, aimed at addressing perceived unfair trade practices, has raised alarms among economists, with some warning that it could nearly double U.S. inflation if fully implemented. Gary Huffbauer, an economist at the Peterson Institute for International Economics, articulated the potential impact, stating, "My view is it would mean a real shock to the American economy. Quite a bit of inflation." The concept behind reciprocal tariffs is straightforward. The U.S. government plans to impose fees on imports that match the tariffs and value-added taxes (VAT) levied by other nations on American exports. Trump underscored this approach, asserting, "Whatever another country charges, we're charging them." This proposal is especially significant considering that VATs are generally higher than standard tariffs, complicating the U.S. trade environment. While the administration has suggested that these tariffs serve as a negotiating tactic to encourage foreign countries to lower their import duties on U.S. goods, the implications for American consumers could be profound. Economists predict that the tariffs, if enacted, would lead to a marked increase in consumer prices. Paul Ashworth, chief North American economist at Capital Economics, estimates that the average tariff on U.S. imports could rise from less than 3% to around 20%. This shift could add approximately 2 percentage points to inflation, with projections suggesting an overall inflation rate of 3.6% later this year. The tariffs are not merely an economic maneuver, they reflect a broader shift in U.S. trade policy. Trump's administration has already initiated a series of import charges, including levies on steel and aluminum, and has delayed proposed tariffs on imports from Canada and Mexico while negotiations continue. These measures are seen as efforts to create a level playing field for American businesses, particularly in light of significant trade deficits, over $1 trillion last year. However, the complexity of implementing reciprocal tariffs poses a unique challenge. With thousands of products imported from nearly 200 countries, determining the appropriate tariffs could become a bureaucratic nightmare. Hofbauer noted that would be very complicated, suggesting that a more straightforward approach, such as imposing an average tariff based on what foreign countries charge the U.S., could alleviate some of these logistical headaches. The potential for inflationary shock extends beyond immediate price increases. There is a risk that persistent higher prices could alter inflation expectations, leading to a wage price spiral where workers demand higher salaries, further exacerbating inflation. As Deutsche Bank economist Justin Weidner pointed out, while businesses might absorb some of the costs associated with the tariffs, they would likely pass along about half of those costs to consumers, resulting in a significant inflation uptick. As the Federal Reserve assesses these developments, concerns about a tariff-induced inflation spike may influence its monetary policy decisions. Historically, tariffs have represented a one-time increase in prices, but their broader economic implications could lead the Fed to maintain higher interest rates for an extended period, complicating recovery efforts from recent economic disruptions. The ramifications of Trump's tariff proposal extend beyond the U.S. economy, with potential ripple effects on international relations and trade dynamics. During a recent panel discussion on the global impact of Trump's economic policies, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton warned that a retreat from international engagement could have dire consequences. The fate of economies and societies around the world bear heavily on our own security and prosperity, she asserted, highlighting the interconnectedness of global economies. As the administration navigates these waters, the use of tariffs as a primary tool for economic policy reflects a significant departure from traditional approaches. The implications of this strategy will undoubtedly unfold in the coming months, shaping not only the U.S. economy but also its relationships with key trading partners. As the world watches, the question remains: will these tariffs bolster American industry and negotiate fairer trade terms, or will they usher in a new era of economic uncertainty? The answers will soon become clear as the administration moves forward with its ambitious trade agenda. In an era where the intersection of business and government has become increasingly scrutinized, the potential involvement of Elon Musk in the U.S. Department of Defense is raising significant concerns. As the billionaire entrepreneur eyes a role within the Defense Department, critical issues regarding conflicts of interest and accounting transparency are coming to the forefront. Recently, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth introduced the Department of Government Efficiency to the Pentagon, an initiative that Musk is expected to play a pivotal role in. However, the Pentagon's financial landscape is riddled with long-standing accounting failures and rampant overpricing by defense contractors. Despite the Pentagon's staggering $850 billion budget, it has yet to pass a single audit since its first attempt 7 years ago, with experts citing deep-rooted inefficiencies and mismanagement within the department. As the Pentagon has spent over $14 trillion since the September 11 attacks, up to 50% of that has filtered through layers of defense contractors, leading to a convoluted and opaque system. Heidi Peltier, an economist at the Project on Government Oversight, highlighted the complexity of the contracting process, stating, with each layer of contracting it becomes harder to track who's getting the money and whether it's actually going for its intended purpose or not. This lack of oversight has drawn attention to the potential for wasteful spending, which Musk's involvement may exacerbate. Musk's existing contracts with the Defense Department, including a $150 million deal for SpaceX to develop space launch systems, raise questions about his ability to navigate this landscape without conflicts of interest. According to Todd Harrison, a senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, there is already an appearance of conflict of interest due to Musk's financial entanglements, which could skew his perspective as a government watchdog. The recent dismissal of Robert Storch, the Defense Department's Inspector General, has only heightened suspicions surrounding oversight at the Pentagon. Storch, along with other officials, has filed a lawsuit claiming their firings were unlawful, leaving the office currently led by an acting Inspector General. This shift may further diminish the Pentagon's already fragile oversight capabilities. In addition, The recent settlement of a $30 million lawsuit against Lockheed Martin for overcharging the Pentagon underscores the susceptibility of defense contractors to price gouging. The Pentagon's inability to maintain clear financial records makes it a fertile ground for such abuses. As Asif Khan of the Government Accountability Office noted, the department's weak internal controls could lead to serious discrepancies in financial reporting. The current political climate, marked by Donald Trump's proposal to cut the defense budget significantly, is also contrasting sharply with Hegseth's commitment to enhance national security spending. This dissonance raises questions about the future direction of U.S. military funding and the potential impact on defense contractors like Musk's companies. As these developments unfold, the implications for both the Defense Department and the broader political landscape are profound. With the potential for Musk's influence to either streamline or further complicate Pentagon operations. The coming months will be crucial in determining how these issues will be addressed. The scrutiny of Musk's role, alongside the ongoing debates surrounding military spending, contractor accountability, and government efficiency, signals a critical juncture in the intersection of technology and defense policy. Looking ahead, the effectiveness of the Department of Government Efficiency, coupled with the possibility of Musk's involvement in defense contracts, will likely continue to stir discussions about transparency and accountability within one of the largest expenditures of U.S. taxpayer dollars. As the Pentagon strives for reform, the need for clear oversight and ethical governance has never been more pressing. In a rapidly shifting geopolitical landscape, the role of European leaders in the ongoing negotiations to resolve the war in Ukraine has come under intense scrutiny. As the United States seeks to reshape its diplomatic approach under President Donald Trump, European nations are increasingly vocal about their desire for a seat at the negotiation table, especially as the ramifications of the war extend well beyond Ukraine's borders. During a recent emergency meeting held in Paris, leaders from Germany, the United Kingdom, Italy, Poland, Spain, the Netherlands, Denmark, NATO, and the European Union expressed their concerns about being sidelined in talks that could determine the future security architecture of the continent. Prime Minister Keir Starmer of the UK emphasized the necessity for a transatlantic alliance, stating, "There must be a US backstop because a US security guarantee is the only way to effectively deter Russia from attacking Ukraine again." The urgency of these discussions was highlighted by the backdrop of a US diplomatic initiative that has left European allies feeling somewhat marginalized. American officials, including General Keith Kellogg, Trump's special envoy for Ukraine, have suggested that involving European nations in negotiations may not be practical. Kellogg indicated a preference for a streamlined approach, asserting, "We know how that can turn out, keeping it clean and fast as we can." This sentiment was echoed by Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, who dismissed the notion of a European role in the negotiations. European leaders, however, are adamant about their involvement. French President Emmanuel Macron articulated the collective sentiment, asserting, "We seek a strong and lasting peace in Ukraine." He called for strong security guarantees for Ukraine, emphasizing the necessity of a collaborative approach involving all relevant parties, including Europe and the US. Dutch Prime Minister Dick Schoof reinforced this view, stating, "We need to come to a common conclusion about what we can contribute. And that way we will eventually get a seat at the table." The division among European nations regarding military contributions to Ukraine has further complicated the discussions. While Starmer indicated readiness to consider deploying British forces in support of a peace agreement, others, particularly from Eastern Europe, have expressed reservations about having their military presence on Ukrainian soil. This lack of consensus was evident as leaders emerged from the Élysée Palace meeting without a unified strategy for potential peacekeeping operations. The stark contrast in U.S. and European approaches to the Ukraine conflict reflects deeper issues regarding trust and expectations within the transatlantic alliance. The discussions have also been overshadowed by a broader concern: the potential for a hasty peace that might overlook Ukraine's sovereignty and the principles of international law. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz reinforced that any agreement must respect Ukraine's agency, stating, "This does not mean that peace can be dictated and that Ukraine must accept what is presented to it." The urgency of these talks cannot be overstated as the ongoing war continues to reshape security dynamics across Europe. The call for greater European defense capabilities has gained momentum, with many leaders advocating for increased military spending and a more robust European defense posture. Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk emphasized the necessity of enhanced military readiness, stating, "The time has come for a much greater ability of Europe to defend itself." As the geopolitical chess game unfolds, the next steps in the negotiations will be critical not only for Ukraine but also for the future of European security. With Trump's administration signaling a potential shift away from traditional alliances, the role of European nations in defining their security landscape has never been more crucial. The outcome of these discussions may very well determine the trajectory of U.S.-European relations and the stability of the continent for years to come. Looking ahead, the challenge will be to balance the interests of all parties involved while ensuring that Ukraine's sovereignty is upheld and that the lessons of history guide future diplomatic efforts. In the coming weeks, as leaders navigate this complex landscape, the potential for a durable peace will depend on their ability to collaborate effectively and prioritize shared security over individual national interests.